In December 2023, Nintendo revealed that they'd be introducing 4 Spirit events to Smash Ultimate over 2 years since the DLC ended, to celebrate the game's 5th anniversary. People generally reacted to this news with excitement because it is new Smash content, but this was especially meaningful to me as I am an absolute spirits freak. Henceforth, I have decided it is my job to critique these spirits and their spirit battles. There are 4 spirit events, each with a theme: Miscellaneous Nintendo, Third Party, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and Mario. Before I go event by event, here's the structural criticism. The events weren't paced well. Fresh new faces lasted 5 days, and followed by Sentinels, Gods, and Baseball 9 days later. That too only lasted 5 days, and was distinctly followed up with new Pokemon discoveries 9 days later as well. Showtime and Wonder Spirits came out 37 days after new Pokemon discoveries. This probably matters more than any other complaint I have here, because it affects the gameplay. Spacing them out the way they did here runs the risk of having players who want to keep up with the events, forgetting the events, and missing out on content they would have otherwise enjoyed. And I would know, it happened to me! Obviously they had to delay it for Princess Peach Showtime's release, but they could have stretched out the time between the other events to accommodate. Personally, I would have had that being around a month between the start of each Spirit event, so we can have new Pokemon discoveries land around Pokemon Day, and stretch the first event into December 2023 since this is ostensibly meant to be a 5th anniversary event. Regarding fresh new faces, the only thing I can broadly criticize is the group of games select, which is still pretty solid. I question there not being any rep for Kirby and the Forgotten Land, though I can see that game somehow had a less lasting legacy than any of the games featured here. Now going Spirit by Spirit, Rara's battle is an interesting one. The amount of characters suggests that it's representing the Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom incarnation of the 7 stages, which upon further inspection does seem to be the case, but it made some very choice selections. Mewtwo, Zelda, ROB, Inkling, and Pit all make sense, but Robin and Charizard are less obvious connections. Yes, Robin is a woman with a connection to Thunder, but her magehood leaves one believing that she might be representing Sonya instead. Plus, there was already a female Smashfire with a connection to Thunder picked out for a Boater's Spirit battle, so they would have made much more sense. Charizard is also a peculiar choice sense. If you want a non-humanoid fire-associated fighter, Bowser is right there and much more Goron-like. Deep Cut Spirit I have no problem with. I admit representing Big Man with a Kyogre is a bit clunky, but you're really stuck between a rock and a hard place with Big Man. I would have had him be represented with Charizard. Noah and Meow are mostly alright, though I do think Samus would have been a much more suitable representation of their Ouroboros form than Dark Samus. By far the most notable thing about this spirit is the fact that their series is not listed, something speculated to be because of silly ESRB rules regarding content from higher rated games. Also, the plot of Xenoblade 3 is that Noah and Mio are soldiers from 2 warring countries who initially just tried to survive as fugitives, but then set their focus on ending the war. And in the gameplay, one of them is an attacker and one of them is a defender. But the spirit is attack type instead of neutral type. OT Spirit is also pretty alright. Interestingly, the art chosen for the spirit is by no means the most iconic piece of Ochi art. I suspect selected for the fact that it contains characters other than Ochi. Similarly, I think the Elf in the Spirit battle could be made invisible, but keeping the Pikmin, referencing the fact that Ochi can command Pikmin independently. Onto Sentinels, Gods, and Baseball. I must admit, I haven't played any of the games these spirits are from. This puts me at a critiquing disadvantage compared to the last spirit event, whose spirits were all from games that I have beaten. For now, the only thing I can criticize is the choice of spirits, which I only have one problem with. Hades was released on the 6th of December 2018, literally the day before Ultimate was released. While Nintendo never said out loud that these events are for spirits from games that came out after October 18th, 2021, there was definitely the implication given by the fact that every other spirit is from a game that came out after October 18th, 2021. Examples of a fun indie game character they could have used in his place are the Lamb from Call of the Lamb, the Stray Cat from Stray, whoever the Sea of Stars protagonist is. As you can tell, I don't play many non-Nintendo console games. Back to familiarity, new Pokemon Discoveries is focused solely on Pokemon introduced in Scarlet and Violet, a game I've played. Koraidon and Miraidon really should have been represented by 2 Yoshis. Being ridden is their defining trait for a majority of the game, and being represented by the same fighter helps highlight how they're both past and future versions of the same Pokemon. Incineroar to represent Ogerpon is a really weird choice. Like, the only thing I can see in common between the two is 1. Bipedality, and 2. Ogerpon wears a mask and wrestling is fiction. Personally, I would have gone with Meta Knight, who is not only much closer body plan wise, but also actually wears a mask instead of this weird metaphor. Also, what does item throw have to do with Ogerpon? I would have gone with battering item since the fact that Ogerpon wields a club. Terrapagos is a nice spirit, but probably should have been neutral to match the functions of the Stellar type. Overall, there aren't enough neutral spirits in this game. Also, the Great Cave Offensive battlefield form would have been a much better representation of the Area Zero Underdepths than Fountain of Dreams. Sprigatito, Fuecoco, and Quaxley's spirit is also nice, though I question why we needed them all in a combined spirit. It's been over a year since Scarlet and Violet came out, and Sprigatito has established itself as the clear favourite. Johto, Hoenn, Sinnoh, and Unova each had one starter weather spirit. Why not Paldea? They also happen to be the only support spirit of the event, which is always going to be a weird choice for star Pokemon sense. They are the one Pokemon guaranteed to be your only Pokemon at one point in the journey. Next is Showtime and Wonder Spirits. Firstly, I object to there being Princess Peach Showtime spirits at all. Remember, these spirit events were announced in 2023. Princess Peach Showtime was not out back then. Because of that, having these spirits just feels wrong. The choice of spirits is also suspect. Swordfire Peach is a fine choice as she was all over the game's marketing, but there are definitely choices I would have had before her. I also have problems with Peach and Stella, mainly that Stella should have just been her own spirit. But really, my main problem with the choice of Showtime spirits is, where is Grape? Other than that, I don't really have any problems with those spirits as I haven't played Princess Peach Showtime and have no intention to. With the Wonder Spirits, the only real problem I have with them is an overarching one that I have with all of these spirits. Their ranks are all wacky. There are 3 Legends, a whopping 9 Aces, 2 Advanced, and 1 Novice. For context, in the base game, Advanced, Novice, and Ace spirits all have around the same amount, whereas Legends have half of one of those. On an interval basis, things are much better. Raru doesn't seem quite impressive enough for a Legend class, but it's hosted the like of Dry Bowser and Dynablade before, so I can let it slide. Deep Cut and Noah and Mio are fine. OT can be argued to have a fitting rank, lining up with the other captains that have spirits, but I really think they should have been advanced. The Sentinels, Guards, and Baseball spirits I again know nothing about, but I ask if the Baseballers can really justify their ace rank. The new Pokemon Discovery spirits are mostly good about this, though I could argue for Terrapagos and Koraidon and Miraidon's ranks being switched around due to the Les hole gotten at the start of the game stipulation, along with Terrapagos generally being played off as more powerful. Showtime and Wonder Spirits, by contrast, gets almost everything wrong. Peach and Stella do not deserve to be Legend class, straight up. My best guess as to what they were going for is that Peach is powerful and a girl boss in a new game that you can buy only on the Nintendo Switch, but spirit ranks don't do out of universe meaning. Then there's Elephant Mario. Why is he an A spirit? What justification is there? Soulfire Peach is fine, she doesn't belong with this troublesome lot. Wonder Flower and Talking Flower do not deserve to be Novice rank. They should be Ace at minimum. The Wonder Flower is the gimmick for the entire game, and what it does is change up every level. So yeah, that's just a bunch of my ramblings. I clicked on a video that said easy piano tutorial for new rules by Dua Lipa, and they weren't lying, that song is easy on the piano.